if you're thinking to yourself, I am already trying my best at my job, but somehow I don't feel as confident. And I have an intention to improve my career, improve my skills, but I don't know where to start. Then welcome back to the Corporate Survivor podcast with me, MEI PHING, ex-corporate leader turned career coach and founder of the Corporate Survivor Career Course. Now, this is part 2 of a 3-part career series where I share the career journey of Jade, which is not her real name, but she's the first ever client that I worked with back in 2019, and she's a client still in my world today. So she is still someone that I'm working with now. This is a story of my client Jade, who went from someone who was totally lost, got fired, asked to leave from her company due to poor performance issues, to becoming a confident professional who is currently a manager leading a small team today. So in the last episode, we talked about the year 2019 and 2020, where we dealt with her recovery from setback of getting fired, and also regaining a little bit of confidence by successfully landing her new role at an MNC. It's a specialized position, so mainly focused on execution. And the thing that we actually focused on in the year 2020 was really around understanding the corporate world as well as gaining clarity. So if you want to check out the previous episode, that you can. But if you're a Corporate Survivor member listening to this, then I want you to actually dive into the course lessons, the 3-step career growth framework, which is lifetime access. You can go into phase 1, which is get clear on the corporate world. You can get all the lessons to that if you really want to upskill. Okay, so let's get into the part 2 of this client story, and we are going to focus on the year 2021 and 2022. Now, high level, what we worked on for these 2 years is to actually continue upskilling her corporate skills. Now, the thing is that she has the intention of wanting to improve, but there are actually a lot of skills gap, and specifically the corporate world skills gap, they're actually a little bit different from maybe what you have heard before. So my aim today is to share with you the 4 groups of core corporate skills that you need to improve. And that was something that I taught to Jade. And all this actually happened in year 2021, way before I created the Corporate Survivor Career Course. So these are the, I would say 4 skills groups that I taught to her. And then we're also going to talk about how in 2022, right, I would say late 2021, 2022, she finally regained that confidence to actually ask her boss for a promotion, which is something that she has never ever imagined that she could do, because she has always felt very low confidence. She didn't believe that she could actually get any even good feedback at her job. So let's actually dive right in to the year 2021, where we're going to talk about the upskilling part. Now, when this client came to me at the end of 2020, early 2021, she said that, MEI PHING, I feel like I still want to work on my skills, and I don't think I'm ready for a promotion yet, and I'm okay to invest another 1 year to upskill myself. Now, during that time, right, she had a much better clarity on what her KPIs are, what is she actually supposed to do, but there were a couple of issues that I noticed with her. Now, first thing is that she is still very introverted, very quiet, and she prefers to do things on her own, which is an issue, because what happened is that she could not really get her work done on time, because she doesn't go out there to clarify, she doesn't go out there and communicate, and there's very, very limited collaboration. So she's just trying to do things on her own, figuring out on her own. And maybe there's one part of her feeling scared, uncomfortable, but the other part that's missing actually is a skills gap, because communication, relationship building, critical thinking, productivity, all these are skills. And hard work is not a skill, okay? Hard work is just enthusiasm, it's an attitude, that's great, but that is not a skill. So what I taught her in early 2021 is that we have to actually break down very clearly the 4 skills group that she needed to upskill, so that we can get the ball rolling for her, really able to make that progression. So here are the 4 groups I'm going to share with you. That I'm going to share with you how I help her to apply all these skills. Now, the first skills group, the core skill that you need to learn, is communication. Now, doesn't matter how good you think that you are at your job, but if you cannot communicate with people, you cannot express your ideas well, you cannot listen well, you don't understand things clearly, what's going to happen is that whatever pieces of work, whatever guidance or instruction that your boss gave to you, you will not be able to understand that correctly. And even if you wanted to clarify, you don't even know what to ask, right? And even if you have done a good job, you may not be able to communicate to say, hey, boss, I've done all these things, and then these are things I want to clarify with you. Even this simple sentence that I've just said is going to be very difficult if you're someone who totally have no idea and how to communicate in a structured, I would consider a corporate way. But worst thing is that if you have the mindset and the inner fear of oh, I can't do it. So The first skills group is, I would say, communication. So the listening skill, interpreting the messages and guidance and the instructions at work clearly. But the other part is actually expressing yourself to avoid misunderstanding. Now, that's actually two part of it. Now, after you upskill communication, the next thing is that you need to start building relationships. So one thing I noticed for this client, Jade, is that, like I said, she likes to do things on her own. And whenever she faces a roadblock, she doesn't know what to do. So she would just sit there and then wait. So what is she waiting for? She couldn't even explain it to me. So eventually what happens is that when her boss asks her, okay, what's the progress with this and that? She's able to explain a little bit, but I still think it's a little bit insufficient. And when she doesn't know something, right, the only person that she could go to was her boss. And this is also not really a good thing, because bosses generally want, right, team members to be fairly independent. But if your boss is the only person that you go to because you have not built any relationships, you don't communicate with anyone else at work, like you don't collaborate with anyone else, after some time, you may become quite annoying to your boss, because you will come across as someone who is not independent, someone who needs a lot of hand-holding. And that's overall is not really a very good perception to have. So why the second skill that you really need to build is relationship building is because you are going to be able to get the support and get the help from people who are working with you, whether it's in your team or different departments, different functions. It's going to be able to help you to move forward. So this was the second thing that I noticed with this client. Then the third thing is, I'll say, critical thinking. Now, why critical thinking is because for this client, hard work, like I said, hard work is a quality, but it's not a skill, right? So what happens is that, she would spend a lot of time working hard, right? So she would stare at the same checklist, stare at the same reporting, and spending a lot of hours like looking at the thing. But what exactly are we looking for? And like, what is the next step? And that's not very clear. And all this actually comes down to the third core skill, and that's actually critical thinking. So critical thinking is not so some kind of woo-woo stuff. It's like, oh, strategy thinking, I don't understand. No. It's just basically process, right? The step by step. So it's like, okay, what is the clear goal, right? Which is the clarity part we already talked about in the previous episode. But more importantly, how am I going to get to the goal, right? What are the steps? Which one comes first? Which one comes next, right? It's like in a sequence of like 5 steps, right? Understanding each step and how one step leads to the other, and then which one comes first, sequencing it correctly. All these are very, very important things. And for this particular client, she is very ad hoc, meaning that like, oh, okay, I came to this task list. Now I need to do this one thing. Then she will rush to go and do it, right? Or, her boss calls her and like, okay, she panics. She doesn't know where all the information are. And then she will rush, she will drop everything and then just like rush. So this kind of like rushing all the time, right, actually creates a lot of anxiety, as basically comes from slightly lack of planning, but I think more importantly, the lack of like critical thinking of the processes that is actually tied to your KPI. Now, I know this sounds a little bit more complicated, but it's really not that complicated, okay? It just means that if you want to get a certain task done, right, you want to get results, you want to achieve a certain key performance goals, there must be steps that you can repeat so that you can become more efficient and more effective. Then this is actually to help you avoid being chaotic, which is what this particular client experienced. Now, there is a fourth skill that you need to wrap up all these things. So at the end of the day, like, yes, you can communicate with people. You can build a good network at your job, right? You can have like the best critical thinking. Well, everything is like great planning and so forth. But all this will mean nothing if you're not meeting the deadlines, okay? So productivity, which is the fourth core skill, is actually meeting the deadlines and delivering quality work at the same time. So back to this client, Jade, is that yes, she is able to put in the work. But again, right, without communication skills, she couldn't really clarify what she needed. So certain pieces of work probably took a much longer time than what it needed to be. So for example, if she step out of comfort zone and maybe go and ask the IT team, right, how to look into like this particular checklist or complete a certain task, then probably she didn't have to spend the whole week trying to figure it out on her own, because she doesn't understand maybe a technical terminology, or it's not really something that she's supposed to be doing, but she didn't know that because she didn't clarify or confirm with someone else in the department. So all these have like very significant impact. It sounds like, oh, it's just so easy, right? If I don't want to do it, then I don't want to do it. Or if I work hard, I put in more hours, I'll be able to figure it out. Actually, most of the time it will not. So like I said, these four skills group is not like one thing is better than the other. It's that everything needs to go together, right? So once you upskill your communication, right, you can express yourself clearly, you can also understand clearly what other people are saying, it makes it easier for you to build relationships. Then after that, people feel like you're someone who is very easy to talk to, understand what your needs are, then basically you will get more help, right? You'll get a better relationship, not just that, but I think better support and guidance. So people are more willing to share with you and give you the answers that you need because you're able to communicate well with them. Now, after getting the answers, it's also really, really important that you know where it fits into your performance goal, because there's no point like going around asking people a bunch of questions, but you don't really know where it fits into anything. So that's why the critical thinking is kind of like the third part. So once she's able to kind of get additional information after she has improved her communication, so get additional information, then what she could do is then, okay, look at her work plan and then see, okay, this is kind of how it fits. So this is like not a immediate thing that you can like magically, upskill, but it's a step-by-step process, right? And ultimately, right, once she's able to get all these things, she gets the information, you get the support, and then you get like all these things that fits into like the bigger picture that ties into her performance goals, then productivity actually is the easiest part, right? A lot of people, I think, make the mistake of like wanting to be productive, right? Taking like productivity courses, all these are actually useless, right? So if you don't understand the corporate world, you don't understand your key performance goals, you don't master like the 4 key corporate skills that I talked about, then it wouldn't move. So actually productivity, like I say, is the easy part. If you do the first 3 right, then it's just a matter of like make sure that you're tracking the deadlines. That's it. So these 4 corporate skills were things that Jade really focused on in year 2021. And that actually significantly improved her confidence because, confidence comes from competence. There's no point like, looking at rah stuff and then, she used to actually look at like a lot of social media content to feel hyped up. But every day, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, when she gets into the office, she feels terrible again. And I told her that, like, we need to stop this. We need to stop getting the high from motivational content. What we need to do is to turn this like rah feeling into something that's more objective, where you can actually take action. So I'll say that the entire year of like 2021 is for her to upskill these 4 corporate skills. And interestingly, and the good news is that, but at the end of the year, right, during the performance review, she told me that, she felt so much more confident and she was actually going to ask her boss for a promotion. So I helped her to prepare, what to communicate during performance reviews and so forth. And like I said, during that time, I didn't have Corporate Survivor yet, but now you can actually find it in the Corporate Survivor course, like in the 3-step framework under the phase 3, get visible. There is basically a template, and I teach you how I tackle performance reviews to increase your chances for a promotion and so forth. So she confidently raised to her boss that she's looking for a promotion and what's like the career growth opportunity at the company. So whether her boss said yes or no, like that's the secondary part, but the most important part is that she had the confidence to believe in her value and knowing that she has contributed, she has put in the effort to actually ask for it. Like, the promotion is the second part. Like I said, the first part is that do you even have the confidence to know, to realize that, hey, I did a good job, right? I can clearly articulate this, using MEI Phing's template and get the feedback from my boss. Like, basically get my boss to agree that I did a good job. Now that's the first step, right? If you can't even get your boss to agree that you did a good job, then like there will be no promotions because your boss like, what are you talking about? So Jade basically did that, and for the first time in her career, she got good feedback. Her boss said she did a really, really good job. And, she could see that my client was putting in a lot of effort. She demonstrated a lot of progress since she joined the team. And her boss is really, really happy with her. Now, this is something that I think really, really boosted Jade's self-esteem and self-confidence. Because as I said, as someone who got fired from her job, right, it's not easy. And if you can relate, right, there is a lot of like emotional turmoil and also I would say imposter syndrome of constantly asking yourself, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? So that kind of like, allowed her to have that kind of like transformation and breakthrough immediately. Say, whoa, like I can really improve. I can really become better, and to actually get my boss to agree that I did a good job, it feels like a complete turnaround than what she had experienced before in the previous company, which was pretty traumatizing. So I think that kind of gave her an immediate indicator that like, you know what, as long as I put in the effort, I'm consistent, I'm focused on what I'm supposed to be doing, then I can always improve. And I think that gave me a huge boost of confidence to say, whoa, actually, for someone who's like literally down in the dumps, you can always get better. Like, things can always get better, right? So after that, I launched the Corporate Survivor. And as you know, right, Corporate Survivor is my career course for 9-5 professionals, where I went through your 3-step framework, right? Get clear, get confident, get visible. Basically, is inspired by Jade's story. So I'm gonna share a little bit more about the next part of the story. And unfortunately for Jade, that particular year, like she did not get the promotion. The reason is because the team is very small, so there's no additional budget for a manager position, and there's also very limited budget for a salary increment. So her boss actually was very honest with her and said that, like, I really, really appreciate you. I think you did a great job, but there's no space. Now, the thing is that, like, you can wait for the space to open up, or you can move. So this was something that's actually very new to Jade. So she told me that, she said that, I don't feel like I don't feel I'm good enough to apply for the next job. So I kind of feel like staying, but I also know that it's wrong to stay. So you may experience this kind of like feeling whenever you feel like, okay, maybe, this is kind of like a dead end job and it doesn't align with my future career goals, but I'm scared. So that's actually quite normal. But I think for you, it's also important to just follow your own pace. So that's kind of what I told Jade as well. I said, okay, you can follow your own pace, but what I would definitely recommend is to start building up your resume and LinkedIn, because at the end of the day, like, you don't want to be in a desperate situation to look for a job when you're really frustrated. Then you start looking into your resume and LinkedIn, right? It's not really the right mindset and energy to have. So I told her that, you know what, let's start 2022, year 2022, just like increasing your chances and like basically start preparing for a new opportunity. And kind of that's what we did as well. And a big part of Jade was also like, well, maybe my boss will change her mind. Obviously, these things don't happen, but I can understand that, like, you go through your own process. And I think that understanding of the corporate world, it takes time. Like, you don't get it immediately, and that's fine, right? Even for Jade, she took a little bit of time, and each month, each year, she improves her understanding of the corporate world bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit, so that it becomes like a full picture, like a big picture. So in early 2022, I think she was quite hopeful. So she was still doing well at her job, still hopeful that her boss was going to give her a promotion. But came like May or June, I think she kind of came to a realization of like, okay, actually, right, this promotion is definitely not happening, and I should stop being hopeful and I should start doing something about it. And that was really the time that we really looked into her value positioning. So currently in my career course, when you sign for the corporate value, you get my 30-day job search bonus lessons. And this is basically helping you step by step on how to sell your value, how to package your value so that you can land the next role that you want. So at that time, she has already been working for about 10 years, and she really wanted to change industries from, finance, accounting, all that stuff, to regulatory compliance. Now, this is going to be a totally new zone for her, so she's not really as familiar, but she has done a lot of, I would say, skills and achievements that would be very relevant for the job. But it's not exactly compliance, but it's really, really relevant. So changing careers, changing industries actually is really possible. It's just learning like how to leverage your skills to convince the hiring manager. So I taught her everything that I've personally done to change careers across multiple industries. So I've been like in audit consulting, and then I've moved to internal controls, fintech, and then ultimately to banking as well. So I taught her the format. So it's kind of like a strategy. It's not necessarily say, okay, write this, not that, but it's an overall strategy. And once you get the concept of how I teach value positioning in your resume summary, then she was actually able to get multiple interviews. Then after that, what really needed to work on was how to convince the hiring manager that she is competent, she can do a good job, and she can be trusted for a managerial position. So we kind of went through all of that. She also didn't give up. She applied for quite a few jobs. As long as it is a managerial position and she really knew that she wanted to become a manager, she really, really focused and have a targeted job search strategy. And after about 2 months of application and going for multiple interviews, she ended up in, I would say, an ideal role for her. So she took up an audit and compliance manager at an insurance company. So manager position, check. Salary increment, 25%, check. Room for improvement, check, because there's a lot more exposure, new industry, the company is growing. And then fourth thing is that she also has direct reports, meaning there are junior team members reporting to her, meaning now that this is officially a people manager position, which will then open more doors, because as a people manager position, right, you can start improving your management leadership skills. And this role also, right, point 5, gave her exposure to C-suite management, including the CEO, because the company is growing and right now is kind of considered like a SME sort of size. So overall, I would say that like it's the perfect end to the year 2022, because she has got everything that she wanted. right? Learning how to get visible, to get the recognition at her job, to get good feedback, that's internal. And then once she realized that there's like limited growth, she actually took charge of her career to then explore new opportunities, successfully made a career change, and not just any career change, to her dream industry that she actually wanted, which is a different industry, a managerial position, which is an upgrade from her previous specialist position. And the third thing is that actually becoming a people manager, which a lot of people actually don't have the opportunity to do so. And fourth thing is actually setting herself up for success, because she's now getting a lot more exposure, and it's a kind of a leadership role as well, because she is going to be the main person who is leading the audit and compliance department. So overall, a perfect end, I would say, to year 2022. But I don't want you to just look at the year 2022. I want you to look at how far she has come. Because starting in like 2019, she was asked to leave from her job. Like she was really, really down low, and then gradually picking up bit by bit, bit by bit. So as you can see, there are many, many elements here. There's the understanding of the corporate world. There's the mastering the job clarity, key performance goals. There's actually upskilling the core corporate skills, the 4 skills groups that I talked about. And fourth thing is to actually gain visibility internally, and to be able to have the courage to move on and to be aligned, to focus on your own career goals and career growth opportunities when the time is right, and to actually have the courage and confidence to actually go for it. So for this second episode, I will end here. And for the third episode, we're actually going to talk about the year 2023 and 2024. So we're going to pretty much come to like the present day, where I'm going to share with you in her current job right now as a people manager, right? What are some of the the mindset and the skill set level up that she actually needed to focus on to be successful at her current job? So one thing is that I think people don't realize is that at every career level, it requires a new version of you. You need to upskill, yes, but the foundation of the skill really matters. And that's going to show a lot in the next episode when I share with you how she leveraged a lot of the fundamentals of the corporate world, corporate mindset, corporate skills that we talked about today, to be able to leverage that and bring it to the next level, to be able to deliver as a manager, basically at the next level. So I hope that you look forward to the episode that will be released tomorrow. And again, if you want to check out the first part of the episode where I talk about the first 2 years of working with this client, then you can definitely check out the playlist, or you can just go to www.meiphing.com. There's a podcast library in there that you can access, not just the previous episode, but more than 200 episodes, everything about the corporate world, career, work, job search tips. You can definitely do that. So with that, I'll see you in the next episode for the final part of this series. Bye.